Hello, I'd like to take you through 3 simple examples on how to add fractions together. Before we start, the process is exactly the same for subtracting fractions, and you should be able to do both from these 3 simple examples. Firstly, you cannot add fractions if their denominators are different. So you must always have a method of changing the denominators so they are the same, finding common denominators. Once they are the same, then you simply are adding numerators. So 3/8 plus 2/8 is 5/8. Every fraction now can be added together if the denominators are the same, and subtracted. The second example is where we start looking for common denominators, and we understand that the denominators we have are 7 and 4, and so with a knowledge of our times tables we can find a number which is in the 7 times table and the same number in the 4 times table, and both of these fractions can change to that number, both denominators. If I look through, I see the first number that appears in both tables is 28. So my new common denominator is 28. Both fractions are going to change to 28, so I need to look at the denominator 7. I can see it's the 4th multiple of 7, so I'm timesing both numbers by 4. Now to find my numerator, 2 times 4 is 8. You need to pause and make sure you understand that, because the second fraction, the process is exactly the same. You look through your 4 times table to find 28. It's the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th multiple of 4, so we times by 7 to get 28. Both the top and bottom numbers, the numerator and denominator, and that gives us 7 there. As in the first example, we simply add the numerators together and we get 15 over 28. Fractions should always be checked when you're doing fraction sums to make sure there is no cancelling down to do, no simpler equivalent fraction to give us an answer. But 15 and 28 is a final answer, 15/28. There is more than one way to deal with mixed fractions, but generally it's a good idea to understand that you can turn a mixed fraction into an improper fraction, and this process can be dealt with in other videos. But essentially you look at your first fraction and you look at the denominator. Our denominator is 3. Now, thirds, 1 whole one is 3/3, so 3 whole ones is 9/3, and I have another third to add on to that, so that is 10/3. The fast thinking way to do it, the automatic way to do it, is say 3 times 3 is 9, add 1 is 10. That will work for the second fraction as well. 5 times 1 is 5, add 2 is 7, but the denominator is 5. Make sure you can understand that step. Stop and have a think about it. We now, as we did in this sum, have to find a common denominator, and we are looking at the 3 times table and the 5 times table for a number which appears first in both tables, and that number is 15. Both fractions are written as equivalent fractions over 15. Starting with the denominator 3, we can see that it is the 5th multiple that we are using, so we times both numerator and denominator by 5. So that will give us 50 over 15. The second fraction, 5, has a denominator of 5, and that's the 3rd multiple, so the denominator is times by 3, the numerator is times by 3, and 3 7s are 21. I now have a sum I can finish by adding together. 50 add 21 gives me 71 over 15. Okay. Now, the only change we need to do to this final answer is to turn it back into a mixed fraction. I know that 15 fifteenths is 1 whole one, so 30 fifteenths is 2 whole ones, 45 fifteenths is 3 whole ones, and 60 fifteenths is 4 whole ones. So 60 fifteenths is 4, and that leaves 11 fifteenths left over. That is our final answer.